Some decades ago, I got one of the best presents ever from a girlfriend, someone I was dating at the time. The combined and compiled notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo had ideas that were totally impossible at his time, flying machines, all sorts of other drawings that were impossible to realize given the capacities and materials of the age. I can't imagine what it would be like to have an imagination and an inventiveness so far ahead of what was possible. But that is quite often in the burden of artists, to be in the vanguard, to be far ahead of your time, to struggle with the materials available to you in the moment. What do we do with that? How do we keep sane when we are out ahead? So there's some advice the Bible has to offer in the book of Numbers as read in Jewish communities worldwide. The tribes of Gad and Reuven and half of Manasseh want to have an inheritance to the east of the Jordan River, not in the Holy Land itself, what is now the mountains of Moab in Jordan. And they say, in exchange, they'll be the vanguard troops. They'll fight ahead of everyone else. So there is value to being in the vanguard. There's value to being the avant-garde. If it's free jazz or impressionist painting, it's challenging, comes with risk. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how to mitigate that risk and how to work with other people so that what is precious about being an artist, what is precious about being a creator is contained safely. Because we're always growing and traveling and moving wherever you are and whatever your profession, whether you are an arts maker or creating in some other way or just working in your office or attending your church or synagogue, it's necessary to continually be growing. And that's one of the lessons of the book of Numbers, which is itself sort of a collection of adventure stories of the Israelites in wilderness. And Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak of Peshishka, which is, I believe, Ukrainish or Poland, 18th century, talks about this being the central message of people as travelers, that about 2/3 of the Torah, which is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, 2/3 is spent in wilderness. So much of life is not at the destination, not at the departure, but in the middle, in the struggle to make, in the struggle to create, in the empty canvas as we fill it. And Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak says, you can't stay at one level in your service to God. You can't stay at one level in your professional work. You can't stay at one level in your technique. You have to be moving upwards, or to quote a congregant, the first step to moving backwards is standing still. We have these journeys. We have to continually be moving forward. And we move out of smallness. We move out of our tight-fistedness and our closed-mindedness, if we're lucky, towards broader vistas. This word journeys that we get in the Torah, in the Hebrew Bible, journeys of the children of Israel going out from Egypt. And the word for Egypt is Mitzrayim, which means straits, narrow places. Probably came from the idea of the Nile Delta being a narrow and restricted area where most of the population in Egypt, I think to this day, is settled around the river. So the Israelites came out of Mitzrayim, came out of the straits, came out of narrowness to the breadth of freedom, to the breadth of the wilderness. And that's the trick. That's the trick, not to be restricted as an artist, not to be confined, but to safely make your passage through the desert, through the wilderness, to destinations unknown, places you haven't been yet. Not easy. Not easy. So there's a couple ways I want to invite you this weekend as you move forward in your career and artwork and creativity and making to keep this a little bit safer and simpler, a little bit stronger, to strengthen yourself. So in the week's reading, they talk about these cities of refuge, where if there is a manslaughter, someone accidentally kills someone and it starts to become this blood vendetta, which still happens in some places in the world, they created these cities, some number of cities around the land of Israel, where people would flee. And when they were in this city, the person couldn't take blood vengeance on them. The vendetta get held, at least for a good long while, until everyone's passions cooled down. These were really important things in a world of honor and shame, and where just blood vendettas could endure Hatfield and McCoy style for generations. But the elders and the civic authorities were responsible for keeping the roads to those cities neat and tidy. Bridges and signage and straight, flat roads, the sort of Roman roads we think about in the ancient world, had to be kept because you want to make it easy to get where you're going. Now, in the world of an artist or a creator or a coworker, the obvious things are take care of yourself, take care of your addictions, take care of your bad behaviors, take care of your health, take care of your weight, take care of your exercise, get a good night's sleep. Keep your materials close at hand, whether it's your guitar or your pastels. Make it easy to succeed. Find true paths, good schools, good mentors, good leaders. That's one thing you can do. Keep those paths straight, clear. In the Japanese pottery studios, I'm told they sweep at the beginning of each day, both as a way to clear the student's head for the work, but also it's a way to keep the whole place working. You got to keep the road clear to the city of refuge. But the other thing I want to invite you to is partnerships, loving relationships, whether it's brothers, sisters, friends, spouses, coworkers, collaborators. You can't do this alone. Even if you're in a path like writing a novel that is largely solitary, find other people, find a writer's group, find a sports team, be together. This is lonely, hard work to be in the vanguard, to be out ahead, to be moving out of narrowness to depth, to be moving internally and externally. So do it together. There's this concept in Hebrew called arevot, which is like to be intermixed, Find co-working spaces, find shared studio spaces, find people to talk to about the work. Meet. Welcome to reach out to me through the comments, whatever you need. But don't do this alone, and keep it straightforward and simple and strong, and find your way from the narrow places out to the breadth and the vanguard of creativity, because life's too short not to grow.